All right, welcome all. Hope you're enjoying the conference so far. So today we're going to introduce Ryan Ferran. He has physical security as cybersecurity. So Ryan comes to us a long time ago from Santa Cruz, chose not to be a banana slug, but came to the University of Oregon, was a doc and a mathematics degree and computer science degree from somewhere else. Doesn't matter. He has over 10 years in IT system administration and specializes in cybersecurity. Ryan's a senior penetration tester. He leads physical security and operational technology assessments, securing critical infrastructure across various industries. So please welcome Ryan Ferran.
All right, thanks. Welcome, everybody. Please forgive the title. They don't pay me to be clever in title areas. So if you have a better title at the end of this, please let me know. I'll totally give you credit. The idea today is to learn about physical security and even go back to your organization or to your home and learn a little bit and actually study your own physical security yourself. So I encourage questions. Raise your hand, interrupt me. I've been instructed to repeat questions so that everybody can hear them and for the recording. So I do want this to be like a back and forth kind of thing. We have just under 30 minutes today, so I'm going to be moving quickly. But again, let's just do it and learn and have some fun. I got lots of pictures here, and we'll go through it. So my name's Ryan. I have been a red team kind of person for over 8 years now. I do lots of technical testing, all kinds of industries. I lead our physical security team and train social engineers, of which there's a couple here today, so beware. I also lead our operational technology assessment team, so doing penetration tests and red team exercises for industrial control facilities like power, distribution, transmission, water treatment, municipalities, the list goes on. I call that hard hat hacking. That's the only time I've ever been clever, by the way. Today what we're going to do is we're going to go over my methodology. So we're not going to go into the pedantic so much of it. We're just going to kind of learn what it looks like to do a physical penetration test. And that means walking up in person and doing whatever you can in person. This lock you see right here, you're going to see a couple of these Easter eggs. I get tons of questions about all kinds of things. The most popular one is, what padlock should I buy? This is a Finnish padlock by a company called Abloy. It is a disc detainer lock. I love it. It is just a wonderful object in general, but also a very good lock. Holds up to the elements very well and is extremely hard to pick. Again, ask questions. That's the whole point of this thing. All right, so one of my mantras is every cyber event has a physical manifestation. And this is what I mean by that poor title. It's to the point, right? Each one protects the other. So when people ask me about security in general and they say, oh, our facilities guy has the physical security down, I really wonder how true that is. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, where you can find gaps. I think a lot of people are with IT and IT administration here. And overall, it requires your input these days because there's so much technology involved with physical security. And the example is stealing a computer. That's why disk encryption was brought about. We're not going to steal stuff so much other than information like ones and zeros off of badges. But in general, this principle holds, and that's the thing I want to portray today. So we're not going to go through this list. Let's more just talk about this picture. So if you can see it, this is a street with one of those vehicle gates that comes down. And I think this really summarizes a lot of things in the world, right? This is, to me, the best meme ever made because you can apply it to anything. And when it comes to physical security, this is what I see quite often, where you've got a $10,000 metal door with a badge reader on it with all kinds of lights and wizards and things like that, and I walk up and defeat it with this, right? And that's the principle we're seeing here is don't trust one thing, you got to have layers, but the important part is go jiggle the handle yourself, right? That's what a penetration tester does, and you'd be surprised how often you get in by just jiggling the handle. We're going to learn other mechanisms to defeat doors, locks, electronic and analog, but in general, The principle is try it yourself because you'd be surprised what you find. We're also going to talk about some remediation strategies throughout, and that's where I also encourage questions because there's many, many ways to fix these things. Some are expensive, some are cheap. This is a little kind of glimpse into the toolkit of a physical penetration tester, just some of the random things that I carry with me. We've got my tactical pink safety scissors. Those are great. But one of the best tools is right here. It's called a shrum. Other tools are going to be plastic shims. These are things that help bypass locks, what's called Lloyding doors, and we'll see how that works too. This, by the way, is my clipboard, which contains a computer inside and several antennae. I get the question, oh, what do you think about the Flipper Zero? Well, we built it first. It's just a lot bigger. Okay, so when people tell me, oh, our physical security is great, all of our doors work well, that's not really the point. The idea is if I'm going to show up in person to a place, my goal is to get onto the network. I want to drop a rogue host and then walk away and then use that rogue host to spend as much time as I can gaining more and more access to the internal network. If I can perform full compromise on that system, right, if I can get the golden ticket from Active Directory, it's over. There's no coming back from that, I guarantee you. If you have full Active Directory compromise with the domain admin account, it's done. Right? You have the golden ticket, which allows you to operate for 10 years with the highest privilege. That's rebuild time. So if anyone has questions about that, come talk to me afterwards because I think this is something that's not said out loud within our industry quite a bit. So if you don't know how to rebuild and rebuild quickly, you're not going to be able to survive a breach very well. So that's why I show up in person, drop the computer, and then use that computer to find as many vulnerabilities as I can in the amount of time that we have for the project, write the report, present the findings, help them fix that. How do I do that? So as I mentioned, we're going to learn about my methodology. My methodology is to show up and not really interact with anybody, right? You're going to be seen, you're going to be heard, but overall, the fewer people I encounter, the less chances I have of getting busted. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about common vectors. This image actually is from a live engagement, and this is what it looks like. So leading right into the next sort of topic is if I can walk into your organization, sit down in the lobby, and find network access, that is a very bad thing, and that's to be something that everyone should look for. So step one in fixing your own organization or your own home is what is publicly available. And so looking around the room, we could probably find several RJ45 ports. Are they live? Are they not? And that's the key, right? So if you're, we'll use a power company, right? So Aaron just talked about power grid. A power company has a public lobby, which people can go and make payments. Sometimes there's a printer, sometimes there's a customer representative. There's lots of different ways that you could potentially access the network there. And so that's the first step I do is try to dress nice, sit down calmly and quietly, and then plug in. If I can plug in something that's interesting, even better. But there's lots of other vectors that people don't think about. So we're going to go over wireless peripherals. We're going to briefly mention Wi-Fi, but that is a whole can of worms. The key there is going to be that, again, this requires physical presence, but not in a very close proximity anymore, right? We're now dealing with wireless, so we could even have hundreds of meters or up to a mile in distance with the right antenna and the right power. Other things that are public accessible, dumpsters, shred bins, electronic waste. Where does the University of Oregon send its electronic waste? Because it's got an inordinate amount of it, right? Every year they got to recycle out of hundreds, if not thousands of computers. Are those things being securely disposed of? And my common thing there is if you really want to test this out, go to government auctions, buy a pallet of computers from them for $35, and you'd be surprised what information's still on there. So these are all areas where it's publicly accessible, you just didn't really think about it. Other places are going to be like community accessible conference rooms. This, for example, right, is this room open during the day when no one's using it throughout the school year? and what access do I have to what kind of equipment and what networks within this room. Vehicles, again, if we use the power company as an example, every single key to every single truck in every single power company is in the ignition across the entire country. Same goes for the police department too. All right, so what do we do if we have a live network port? We want to protect it. So the best way to test it out is to actually plug a computer in it. Remember, you've got DHCP, static IP addressing. There's all ways to kind of get onto a network when you're not supposed to. As far as defensive positions go, you've got a nice, neat little list here, but I guarantee you it's very, very hard to protect a live network port publicly, other than disabling it at the patch panel. Mm-hmm. And even then, do you know how many mistakes I found post-pandemic? Everybody lit up ports everywhere because they had to spread out, and they didn't get them all taken down again. Furthermore, when we start to get into some more advanced control systems like network access control layers and 802.1x, blah, 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 you've added complexity, and with complexity comes a bigger vector space, which means I have more ways to attack it. So there's just a lot going on when it comes to protecting the network. So what I say is just deactivate it all, only light up what you need, and then follow as many layers of protections as you can. This is a packet squirrel. It's something that's designed to be plugged inline. So if I were to find a printer or a multifunction device, I can unplug that, plug this guy in as proof of concept, which will steal the MAC address, relay information from the actual printer so that it's seamless, but also be able to operate on the network too. If you enable this with LTE, you've got a real, real good tool. This is an example of some of the mistakes I see. This is a live engagement actually in a bank where there is a member kiosk and you've got full access to whatever you want. The network cable's there. You got a keyboard even and a monitor if you want to set up a nice little ergonomic workstation. These port blockers are quite useful actually. I have, what you do is you go buy the keys themselves. So you buy every kind of known port blocker out there so that you obtain each key, and that's the way you get around these. Tinkering, it really is kind of annoying, so I just avoid them now and find another one. But if you're, when in doubt, you've got other layers of protections too. Wireless peripherals, this is the one that is most commonly overlooked. This is also the reason why we don't carry the Flipper Zero, because it doesn't have a 2.4 gigahertz antenna. That is this guy up here. This is run on something called the Crazy Radio PA, and it allows us to perform all kinds of different actions when it comes to wireless peripherals, just like this. And it's actually the dongle that plugs into the computer that you're attacking. Acts as a human interface device, and you can read keystrokes if they're unencrypted, but you can, more to the point, inject keystrokes over 2.4 gigahertz. So you can sit in the parking lot, whack enter, and literally attack every wireless device in your range indiscriminately. And what you do is you just type Windows key R, command.exe, and then you're off to the races to download malware, execute it, and compromise that workstation. And you were in the parking lot. Now, I will spend a little bit of time here. This is very important, and the best way to test it and understand is to get rid of all wireless peripherals. If you can't do that because the CEO doesn't like the looks of wires, valid concern, you need to go find one that is secure. And I get the question, well, which one do I buy? Got to test it. It's simple fact of the matter is I've seen every different which way of every different kind of device, and you never know until you actually empirically test it. So go pick up a radio PA, flash the firmware, throw it on Linux, and you'll be off to the races. It is quite interesting to see which devices are and aren't vulnerable. When in doubt, just email me. I can also save you some time. Actually, my colleague Lee over here wrote up some instructions on how to get the radio PA working. Wi-Fi. This is a big can of worms. Modern Wi-Fi systems, I'll throw out a Cisco Meraki as an example, come out of the box pretty darn secure. As soon as we throw a human on that thing, then it becomes insecure. So you gotta make sure you're testing and keeping things up to snuff. When it comes to physical security, don't put your access points waist high, right? Get them up on the ceiling, get them behind drop ceilings. That's the biggest concern is if you put anywhere I can touch, now I'm on your network, right? And that's what we're trying to protect. Shred bins, make sure you're using a shredding service, make sure you're training people, make sure you're checking them, because there's all kinds of good information on paper. So now I've gone into the publicly available areas. If I'm actually going to get clandestine and try to surreptitiously enter the building, we'll learn some cool things. This bottom tip here is a pretty good one. If you're building a facility, get your security assessment before the contract is over. I worked a $26 million facility that was just completed. They were so excited. Contract was done. Construction crews had left. And 90% of their doors I opened with a playing card. Right, and this is like over 1,000 doors. It cost them like 250 grand to fix everything. And if they'd have done the assessment a month before, it would have been on the contractor's dime. Lloyding. This is the best way to get into a system. So this is what I was talking about. You got a fancy door, fancy electronic badge system with a solenoid lock, and it's got a little plate on the left there. You see that left arrow that's trying to protect it, but overall the latch is exposed and the anti-shim pin is failing, right? It's falling into that void. And that's what you've seen in Hollywood is you've got that credit card trick, right? Where the guy just pulls on a credit card and goes, it's that, but just a little bit more complicated. So if that shim pin, better seen here on the right, is fully extended like you see it is now, the latch opens and closes. When it's depressed, meaning it's touching the leftmost number 2 arrow, that latch cannot move. That's actually what locks the door. So if that shim pin falls into the void because it moves around a little bit, it's an older door, it swelled up in the summer and then shrunk in the winter, that shim pin, all the frame's going to move around and you get all 250 of my pounds on it, it's going to fall in there. In which case, then if I can manipulate the latch with a piece of plastic, a piece of metal, any one of those tools you saw, that door is going to open. I don't care what other electronics are going on, it'll open there. So these are things to look for. Lloyding is the term. The anti-shim pin is the vulnerability. Remediation strategies here can be, build a new door. That's a lot of money. You can actually buy for like a couple of cents what's called bumpers. And they are little plastic sticky things that fit on the inside of the door jamb that set the door to have less play. And then all of a sudden that shim pin will set where it's supposed to. So for the cost of a quarter, your door now becomes secure and all of my weight on it doesn't actually move that anymore. So again, layers and layers. There's cheap strategies, there's expensive strategies, and there's going to be more and more even after that. Shimming, this is again where plastic, this is a piece of plastic milk jug. Oh, actually, it's Earth 2O? Yeah, that's the best one. We did an empirical study. This one's a little bit hard to see, but in the arrow, what you're looking at is a small, thin piece of cardboard tripping what's called the rec sensor above it. So that's the motion sensor to exit a bank. And this is an actual bank where as you walk up to the sensor, it unlocks the magnetic door so that you can escape. Well, the vulnerability is that there's a big gap at the top of the door that allows me to trigger the sensor from the outside and walk right in. This is called a J-tool. So if you've got a double door on an organization, which is the vast majority of them in North America, there's a little thumb spinner on the inside. And if you can sort of picture how this tool works is you spin the black part of the handle and then the J on the other end spins the thumb. Under the door, you can see where this is going. There's a tool for every kind of door, every kind of latch. And this one is highly successful. I like to slide my phone under the door. Just don't kick it in before you get the door open. Remediation strategies for all these are to install a good lock. One, a good door, but also a good lock. And what we're here looking at is a mortise lock. And the most important thing on it, well, one, this is the anti-shim pin. Looks a lot different, right? And the reason this is going to be successful is because it sits on an entirely different plane than the latch mechanism. So everything can move within the door frame it's got to move like a whole inch or two before it's going to fail. The old style only needs about a millimeter or two to begin to fail. So this is why this is so great. You can also see you've got an actual deadbolt. Deadbolts are great. Everyone sees people picking locks left and right. It is really hard to pick locks. Not to mention when you're doing it in the real world, how do you describe that to somebody? Like, oh, I forgot my keys? Like, so not a people in my world pick locks whatsoever, right? I'll pick a padlock here, or maybe on a gate or something, but in general, there's way easier ways to get past it. So only way to get past an actual deadbolt is to pick it. And of this caliber, you're looking at 7+ pins with a security pin, and I'll be there for a couple of days if I ever get it. And then third, you've got a rounded knob, which is still ADA compliant, very important, but under the door tool no longer works. Electronic ingress. This is again where I was trying to say that you got to have some cybersecurity skills to have physical security skills. This is the best thing I've seen in a long while. This is a weaponized garage door reader we built. So if you drive into like a parking garage and you've got like the big gray badge on the side where you can maybe swipe something, and then the big gate opens, we just took one of those, jammed it full of batteries and an Arduino, and have about 18 inches of distance. So post up next to a door, create a little choke point, just kind of get a lean on like this with your little laptop bag, and you can just read badges all day long if those badges are vulnerable. We're seeing that more and more products being released on the market that are a little bit more secure, but the vast majority of North America is HID Prox 2, which is easy peasy. When it comes to more secure cloning technologies, this is the latest device. It's much, much smaller. Its range is contact-based, so you need like to actually have the device or the badge itself. But in a nutshell, it can actually defeat some of the I-class badges out there too. And keep in mind, there's a whole spectrum of I-class, right? And I think we're up to like 9 different products. So if you're looking to implement new badges or a new facility or anything like that, I highly recommend you just email me and talk it out. Also, just talk to like the vendor, like HID, for example. They're having better conversations these days, but just shoot me an email. I'll save you hours and hours of time. Securing RFID badging systems is a common question. People are like, well, I don't have $500,000 to go replace these things. There's lots of good, intermediate, cheap solutions. What you're looking at here are some, wrong button, shielding. So you can slide your badge into this thing so that it effectively dampens the RFID process so that my range decreases from 18 inches to about 1.8 millimeters. So no longer can I post up or walk down the line in the taco lunch line, you know, and get everybody's badge. I got to start giving out hugs. Was a little tricky post-pandemic. But there's all kinds of different, people say, okay, oh, this one doesn't work. This is a clamshell, kind of like a clothespin that actually enables it and allows the RFID system to, you know, work a little bit better when you're swiping. Multi-factor, very important, right? So if you've got a server room, anybody, put multi-factor 6-digit code, of course, on there. And this is kind of a new one that I'm promoting a little bit. This is like a $30 Amazon product. You can actually clone your badge to this, and it only actually sends a signal when you push the button, and you can have 4 different layers. Again, these are all just potential solutions that are very, very cheap. When in doubt, though, replace them with better badging systems. Okay, so now I've gone through avoiding people. Now I've tried to like surreptitiously enter doors. You know, you're listening to see if someone's on the other end. Actually, what I'm listening for is the server room. The whir of the fans is, ooh, this is a good door. I want to get in here. But at a certain point, you got to bump into people. Also, as part of a penetration test, you want to understand the risk associated with social engineering. And so you have to go and do it. You have to do it in person, which is a pretty serious event. Right? You're dealing with real people in the real world who have very real emotions. So if you're looking to get into this world as a profession, ask yourself if that's really what you want to do, right? We'll interview people and I'll say, hey, let me walk you through a scenario, which ends with police pointing weapons at you. And some people just don't have it in them. So keep that in mind. That's part of the job. I have never been arrested. No one's ever pulled their weapon on me, but it is certainly a possibility. And we work very hard to work safely and work through it all. But in the end, you are definitely dealing with real people, and a mama bear protecting the credit union branch is going to come at you. Worst thing that's ever happened to me is a guy threw a wrench at me once in a power company and it skidded across the floor and kind of startled me. So, but overall, you just show up looking like this. I go to the hairdresser and I'm like, make me look like an IT person. And you get khaki pants and your blue shirt and you're off to the races. And then I just walk in there and I say nonsense. Just nonsense. The more generic, the better. It promotes less questions. Like, I'm here to upgrade the network firmware. And they're like, oh, okay. So you need to get into this one or that one. And then they let you in and you're off to the races, right? And the goal here is to demonstrate impact of getting to the network and deploying that computer. But you also want to assess people for their social awareness, like the social engineering awareness. And overall, that can come from a variety of places, right? What we see is custodial services, shredding services, all the different people that enter a facility tend to be unknown, but are vital to the operations of the facility. So you got to keep all these things in mind. This is a list of how you should train your people. I'm not going to go through each one, but it's pretty self-explanatory. These actually correlate directly to the findings in our reports that we present to people. So challenge unknown persons, escort people at all times, verify, right? I forget which president was. I'm too young to remember this guy, but trust but verify is the statement you should give everyone. That's the thing in your back pocket, right? Everybody wants to be a good employee. Nobody wants to say no, or they don't know who this person is. For all they know, this is the CEO of the company, right? Trust but verify still works, right? I trust you are who you say you are, but I have to follow the rules. And that gives people an out, right? And it's those hesitations. Anytime I'm social engineering anyone, it's just one little hesitation and I'm in, right? I just need a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And before you know it, they're inviting me to their wedding next week, right? So when it comes to it, if you're training your employees and you want to defend against these kinds of attacks, even for phishing, even for phone calls, for SMS, all these things, give them a playbook so they don't have to think about it. There's no room for error. They just pull out their little laminated card and they go, okay, nope, can't do that. Next thing, yes, 1 sec, they make a phone call. Like if they just follow through it, they don't have to think at all. Their chances of being defeated through social engineering is far, far less. It's also just easier. Not everybody has the interest to confront the whole world and all of the attackers out there because there's a lot of them. So if you just give them a playbook, they don't really have to worry about it. Okay, we're just out of time here. Again, I specialize in operational technology. I spend most of my time defending the power grid. There's a lot of things going on with advanced features. When it comes to power grid, we're talking like ballistic shielding for expensive transformers. It's a little out of our league here. But this is a good ending slide here. When it comes to defending your network, both physically and logically, this is a good thing to think about when you're getting into more advanced techniques. Especially if you have field sites, right? If you've got a location that's out there in the middle of the desert where the LEO response time is more than 50 minutes, I mean, someone could have a field day out there before you even got there. And then what would you do when you got there? So segmenting your risk, segmenting your networks, modularizing, compartmentalizing is the way to go. All right, that's pretty much it for today. Again, my name's Ryan. I highly recommend you email if you have any questions, especially if you want to try any of these things out or buy locks or your vendor's pushing back on something. I'll absolutely help out, send you some links, some instructions on how to build stuff. Any questions right now? Anyone do physical security in the room? Oh, okay, cool. Come talk to me. Question?
Random bit of trivia.
Yeah.
Is that lock picking lawyer approved?
The Abloy? Yes, but he built a tool with Bosnian build that actually is really good. It's like a,
It's pretty cool.
yeah, the disk detainer pick. It's on Sparrows. If you forgive me, I can jump back. I didn't get to mention these ones. And I know we're out of time. Bowley is a Canadian company, and I realize this is a rendered image, but this is a real lock, and it's amazing. And you can see it's like a two-dimensional disk detainer lock. I don't even know how to call it. But yes, Bowley, the website's there. They have another one that I also glossed over. Anyways, apologies. This one is another kind of lock that's, in my opinion, unpickable. And it's very real. You can get these for your house. The other style, the two-dimensional disc detainer, they actually are selling them in padlocks now too. Very, very cool. Bowley, they're a Canadian company. I don't have any stock in them. I would if they'd send me a lock for free because they're quite expensive. But again, conversation doesn't end here. Come find me. I'll give you a business card. I work for a company called BPM. We do all kinds of cybersecurity services. And we're in town in Eugene, so probably see me around.